I overheard them whispering about selling my garden while I feigned sleep in the sunroom. That was the stark truth of that afternoon, piercing like the summer heat through the cracked window pane. At 82, folks figure you're dozing deep, your thoughts fuzzy, your world shrinking to naps and reruns on the TV. But mine stayed sharp, honed by decades of tending soil and raising kids. I reclined in my wicker chair, a faded afghan over my lap, breaths measured and slow. The AC hummed softly, masking their approach. Then came the creak of the back door. No knock, no holler, just my son Mark and daughter Lisa slipping in like they owned the place. Their steps paused, checking if I was out cold. "She's napping," Mark murmured. "Perfect, let's talk this through quick." Napping like I was a toddler. My fingers crept under the afghan to the voice memo app on the old smartphone my grandson Tyler gave me for recipes, Nana. I tapped record, thumb steady despite the arthritis. Lisa rummaged in the drawer by the fridge, pulling out my deed papers. "She won't even notice," she said softly. "Mom's always out in that garden, lost in her weeds. She forgets half the time anyway." Mom, but laced with dismissal. My chest tightened, but I kept still. "It's for the best," Mark replied, voice low and assured. "We'll get her to agree to the sale tomorrow. She trusts us, and once the land's subdivided, we can flip it for big bucks." Papers shuffled, my papers, the ones for the house and the acre out back where I'd planted roses for 50 years. Mark chuckled quietly. "Imagine if she knew what this plot's worth now. She weeds it like it's therapy, while it could fund our retirements." Retirements? Their own, not mine. Their shadows danced across the floorboards, never glancing my way. In their eyes, I'd faded into irrelevance long ago, weaker, slower, a relic to maneuver around. "She'll go along," Mark said again. "She always does, and Tyler won't push back." My throat burned, not with sadness, but a calcified hurt. But I lay motionless, the phone capturing every word like a silent witness. Then Lisa dropped the blade. "She's had her time. That garden's just wasting away with her." They kept plotting, carving up my legacy like a pie chart. I heard the jingle of my key ring, the rustle of folders from the cabinet, my own kids scheming my erasure from the earth I'd nurtured. When they slipped out, the house didn't hush, it buzzed with revelation. An old widow stirring not from slumber, but from denial. I opened my eyes to the sunroom's glow, surveying the potted ferns and sun-bleached cushions, mirrors of my own weathered self. My grip tightened on the phone. For the first time in ages, I didn't feel frail. I felt alive. Dawn breaks truths cleaner than twilight ever could. It doesn't murmur or skulk. It floods in, raw and unrelenting, daring you to confront what's been gnawing at your edges. When I woke, my neck ached from the chair, and a dull weight sat in my gut. Not panic, not grief, acceptance, cold and clear. I folded the afghan neatly, as I'd done since my husband passed, pressing out the creases. My hands held firm, no quiver. Odd, considering they shook peeling potatoes or threading needles. But not today, not after eavesdropping on my children parceling my paradise like real estate listings. The kitchen felt drafty, so I brewed coffee, standing by the pot as steam curled up. My bungalow had always been modest, but in the morning sun it seemed vulnerable, as if it too had overheard the betrayal wafting through the air. My late husband used to quip, "A house soaks up everything, joys, fights, dreams. Guess it absorbs greed, too." I sipped black coffee at the Formica table. My mind didn't meander like stereotypes of old folks. It sliced straight to last night, parsing each syllable. "She won't notice. She always does. She's had her time." How casually they plotted around my obsolescence, as if I were already a ghost. The wall clock ticked steadily, a metronome to my thoughts. No plans today, No bridge club, no doctor's visit, but the day stretched with intent, like a path clearing through overgrown brush. I wasn't sure of the destination, but I sensed the pull. I pulled the phone from my robe pocket, its screen warm from my grasp all night. It sat innocently on the table, but inside lurked their voices, their smug assurance that I was too foggy to fathom. I didn't replay it. No need. The truth echoed loud enough. A rap at the door, soft, tentative, unmistakable. "Nana, you awake?" Tyler's voice, laced with that youthful warmth. I let him in. He towered in his hoodie, messy hair, eyes sparkling with unearned optimism. He sniffed the air. "Coffee's on. Awesome. I barely slept. Kept thinking I should swing by." That hit me. Why? He shrugged. "Just a feeling." My heart squeezed at being thought of, not as a burden, but a person. Mark never dropped in without motive. Lisa's visits were scripted charity, but Tyler came because he cared, plain and simple. Sometimes life tosses you one good soul to balance the scales. We sat. He chattered about his job hunt, a podcast I'd enjoy. I nodded, smiling, cradling my mug. I held back the night before, for now. He was too fresh-faced for that poison, but he sensed it. "You seem thoughtful today. Everything okay?" I met his eyes, nearly spilling it all, his dad and aunt invading like opportunists, shredding my last illusions. Instead, I patted his arm. "Thoughtful's a step up, dear. Means I'm seeing clear." He nodded, trusting blindly. That trust anchored me better than any pill. After he left, the coffee pot gurgled, forgotten on warm. I surveyed my life. Framed photos, mismatched mugs, the garden view out back. All dearer now. Last night rattled me, but it edged a boundary. The ground had shifted. I'd adapt, not with fanfare, but quietly, like roots seeking deeper soil. I didn't hit play until dusk. The day slipped by as I wandered the house, fingers grazing familiar knickknacks, weighing their worth. Tyler's mug in the sink, the chair's dent, the Afghan's folds, unchanged, yet transformed. At last, I sat, tapped the app. Their voices erupted, Mark's steady baritone, Lisa's edged hush. I'd braced for a gut punch, but it was like observing a distant squall, confirmation of a long simmering dread. Respect hadn't evaporated overnight. It had eroded ages ago. I replayed twice, then thrice, tuning into rhythms. Mark's habitual "she always does," Lisa's snide laugh over my wasted land. No remorse, just strategy, rehearsed no doubt. I silenced it, the quiet enveloping like fog. No rage, clarity instead. I'd been the giver, loans for Mark's failed startups, cash for Lisa's emergencies, signed blindly, calling it love, not naivety. But I'd ignored the undercurrents, the knife's gleam in their grasp. Parents cling to memories while kids outgrow them. At the window, the neighborhood slumbered, picket fences, driveways, leaves whispering. 50 years here, raising babies, hosting barbecues, planting that garden with my husband's calloused hands beside mine. They'd seen only assets, not the soul woven in. I fetched the lockbox from the attic, statements, deeds, notes in my husband's script, spread them out, scrutinizing every figure. He'd said, "Money's power, who wields it matters." I'd ceded too much. By nightfall, paper stowed, mug washed, Tyler's goodness a balm. No showdown yet, but fearlessness bloomed, a bedrock resolve. They saw last night as my unraveling. Wrong, it was my reawakening. Families don't shatter in spectacles, yells, doors banging. They corrode like old pipes, stealthy until the leak floods. Sipping tea the next morning, I mapped the path to Mark and Lisa's midnight scheming, their conviction I was mere inventory. It wasn't sudden, roots traced back years. Mark first, he'd idolized his dad, stepping up post-loss, but duty morphed to dominance. "I'll handle it, Mom," meant yield. Loans forgiven as family, snubs excused as stress. Visits tied to needs, not affection. Blind love prolongs denial. Lisa harbored grudges, vague blames for my working mom flaws. "I'll repay" became hollow. Visits performative, eyes on my files. Let me manage for safety. Whose? I enabled it, haunted by toddler hugs, scraped elbows, milestone joys. The house likely sensed the chill before I did. No hatred, just realization. I'd given softness without reserving my share. Age didn't weaken, it forged resilience. Betrayal undeniable now. I set the phone aside, hands clasped. Past unchangeable, but future mine to guard. For an octogenarian, that's rebirth. Mark arrived unannounced next day, gauging if the fragile held. No bell, he barged in. "Mom, you around?" Mom like a label on a file. I sat, sorting bills, twice read. He entered, scanning for frailty. Age school survival, not shattering. "You look worn," he said. "Bad sleep?" I met his eyes coolly. Slept fine. Truth layered. He sat, plunking an envelope down, bulky, official. "Papers to review, routine stuff." "What kind?" He smiled patronizingly. "Easier management, no worries." I gazed steadily. "I enjoy details, Mark. They clarify." Smile slipped. He extracted forms, deed tweaks, sales preps cloaked in jargon. Not routine, power grabs. I read meticulously. "This isn't maintenance, it's a land transfer." He tensed, irked. "Mom, you're overreacting, protecting you." I paused, recalling his boyish tears over pets, handholds. But this man? Stranger. "Thanks, but I'll review with counsel, preferably alone."